Welcome. I am F. Tessa Robinson, licensed professional counselor and mom to 2 autistic children. And today I want to talk to you about getting your autistic child dressed and out the door in the morning, which, even with neurotypical children, can be no easy task. To start with, we have to go back to a basic principle of child rearing, which is to choose your battles. Because with getting our children dressed in the morning, it can easily turn into a power struggle. And whenever you notice that you are in a power struggle with your autistic child, my advice is to take a step back and rethink your approach and ask how you can change the dynamic so you're working together with your child and not opposed to them. With that in mind, here are some guidelines for making the morning routine as smooth as possible. And first, we want to create as much time as we can in the morning. I know how hard this can be, especially if you are dropping your child off at daycare at 6 a.m. I've been there. Ideally, I recommend an hour of prep time before you get out the door, and trust me, both of my kids have made use of every minute of that hour. And then there are mornings where everyone oversleeps and things are even more condensed. When we start to rush things, though, that pressure we create overwhelms our children and can cause us to lose even more time if it triggers a meltdown. So by doing our best to remain calm and to not rush our children, we end up saving time. If you are someone who does have to get up very early in the morning, do as much prep as you can the night before. Get the lunches packed, get the bags organized and by the door, have breakfast prepped, set out your own outfit the night before, even dress your child in the clothes the night before so you can avoid the dressing battles in the morning when you are under so much pressure. All of these things shave time off and help you things to run more smoothly. Next, keep in mind sensory issues. I'm fortunate that my son is a sensory-seeking type and not bothered by these. My daughter was a bit pickier. Remember, though, textures and things that we may not even think about can be painful to our children. I know one woman whose daughter would throw huge temper tantrums when she put her socks on. And one day while she was in a rush, she just happened to put the socks on inside out so the seam wasn't touching her toes. And her daughter didn't throw a tantrum. Once she started doing that, the morning tantrums stopped. Tags on clothing, certain textures, those can all be painful for our children. Fortunately now, it's easy to find clothing that are specifically made for autistic children that is more comfortable for them. So if your child is tantruming in the morning, you may ask yourself if there's a sensory issue going on and experiment with clothes that might feel better for them. Third, maximize their sense of control. Feeling in control of their environment is something that's really important to autistic children, and we need to build on that. It is also important to build their confidence in their ability to take care of themselves, because we want them to grow up to be independent one day. An integral part of maximizing their sense of control is abandoning the need for things to be done perfectly. To maximize their sense of control and build their confidence, you are going to have to accept that their clothes may not match, that they may put their clothes on backwards, that they may go outside without a jacket, that their buttons may not be done just right. Let them have that imperfection, and trust me, they will start to write those things on their own as they get bigger and more aware. When we are learning new things, they aren't going to be done perfectly. And I know my children were very proud of their early imperfect efforts. Shattering that to get my son to put his shirt on right and arguing with him about it would have been A, creating that power struggle, and B, not worth it. After a few weeks of putting his shirt on backwards, my son started fixing it all on his own. We have this fallacious idea that our errors need to be pointed out to be corrected, and that's just not the case. As we get older, we get bigger, we start to fix these things on our own. The other part of letting go of perfection is allowing them to step outside on a cold day without a jacket if they refuse to put one on. But take a jacket with you. Remember, autistic children perceive temperature differently than neurotypical ones, and what many people perceive as a cold day, they may perceive as a warm one, or vice versa. So when we insist on a jacket when they aren't cold, we are telling them that their perceptions are not valid, and that just creates confusion for them. The other thing to keep in mind is that with the advent of modern heating, our children may not understand that outside it will be cold. And if they have hearing comprehension issues, this may not be something that we can easily explain to them. So here we are, we're in a warm, toasty house, and we are insisting that they put on this thick jacket. And they're thinking, hey, I'm warm. I'll be burning up in that thing. Because they don't understand that the temperature will change when they get outside. That is why I suggest bringing a jacket with you and carrying it. Trust me, on days that it was that cold, my son would take a minute to change his mind about the jacket that he didn't want to put on in the house and ask to wear it. Let them find out for themselves, avert the power struggle, bring the jacket with you, let them ask for it when they are ready. Back to maximizing our child's sense of control, this is something that can look drastically different from child to child. I had to reinvent the wheel all over again for my daughter. Things that worked for me were asking them if they wanted to put their shirt or their pants on first, and letting them decide, step by step, the order that they would be dressed in. As they got older, this evolved into setting my children's clothes out beside them and then going away for a bit and letting them dress themselves. Me hovering over them just created a lot of unneeded pressure, I think. Getting clothes that they were excited about dressing in, such as clothes with their favorite movie and cartoon characters, was also very motivating. I know a lot of schools have uniforms now, which I think is unfortunate, as it can take away a lot of the motivation our children have to get dressed. Allow them to set the time that they get dressed. Do you want to get dressed now or in a minute? For my daughter, this turned into a routine where I will ask if she's ready to get dressed. She'll say no. I'll say, okay, and turn around. And as soon as I turn around, she'll say she's ready to get dressed now. And then she gets dressed without complaint. For whatever reason, being able to refuse is important to her. And once she sees that I won't force her, she will cooperate. I know some parents don't like being told no by their children, and to that I ask, if your children aren't comfortable telling you no, how do you expect them to learn to say no to people who will pressure them to use drugs or have sex when they get older? Our children telling us no is practice for them telling people in their lives who may not have their best interest at heart no later. Ultimately, by letting her say no, though, I am getting what I want, which is her cooperation in getting dressed and out the door on time, rather than arguing with her about saying no to me. Maximizing control led from having toddlers who took a solid hour to get dressed, who would have their shirts on backwards and wear mismatched clothing, to having children who dress themselves correctly in the morning and take about 15 minutes to do it now. No hassle. It does get better. Now, here's something I also want to address. Other people may judge us for letting our kids go outside without looking perfect. And I know some instances when people have even called the police on parents who have taken their kids out looking disheveled. I want to stress that in those instances, the police did not arrest the parents or charge them for child abuse. They checked in, they found nothing wrong, they left. And here's my point. People are going to judge, and we can't do a lot about it. It hurts, and we can't do much about it, other than take notes about who our friends are. Bottom line, we can't let other people's judgment stop us from doing what is best for our kids. Someone who has never had to get an autistic child dressed in the morning has no right to speak about how easy it is or complain that her child's shirt is inside out when they have no idea the effort it took to get to that point when they were wearing a shirt in the first place. They have no right to take away our child's small victories towards independence and self-sufficiency by smugly pointing out that they didn't do it right. Take back your power from unhelpful people and focus on doing right by your child. I hope you found this video helpful. I post new stuff on Tuesdays. Please like and subscribe. Feel free to drop me a note about what you would like to see covered. Bye.